Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Men of Now channel. Got a super fun, exciting guest for you today, Mr. Saint Robert. Welcome to the channel.
Hey guys.
Hey. So Saint Robert and I just met, so we're having a little get to know you as well. So this will be for all of us here. And Huds cannot join us today because it is currently 5 a.m. in the morning for him. So we're just gonna do us two today, and him and I will be back in the weeks to come. So Saint Robert and I met recently in the streets. Well, we met through a group, but I met some of his connects through the streets of Warsaw. And that is going to be today's topic: is getting out there, where the best places are to date, to approach, to meet women in 2023, because it's a lot different than it was 10, 15 years ago. And Robert is an expert in the field, so he's going to share some of his wisdom, how he got out there, and we're just going to have a fun conversation. So, Robert, feel free to introduce yourself and say
Hey
what's up.
guys. So I'm Saint Robert. I've been coaching day game specifically, so meeting girls on the streets, in the shopping malls, grocery stores, cafes, sort of like everyday situations for more than 5 years now. I think full time. I've worked with guys from literally all over the world. North America, U.S., Canada. I don't know, Australia, Hong Kong, Israel, UK, EU, like all over the place, and coached in very different parts of the world. And I've been a nomad for around 4-ish years now, living nomadically myself. Have explored a bunch of places in Latin America and Europe. Day game and otherwise, have had all the imaginable fun in day game that you could even imagine. We'll talk about that probably at some point. And now I'm in a good format of a relationship. Let's call it like that.
Cool. That seems to be a traditional progression of most day gamers, right? They start out, they're meeting women, and they eventually get into a relationship long term. So we'll dive into that a little bit, and maybe why you chose that route. Because I know I was like, wait, why don't you just do this day game thing forever? It sounds like a blast, right? Or vice
Well, I'll
versa.
ask about that at the end. I'll tell you why.
Okay, cool. Guys, a little preview for the end of it. So, Saint Robert, yeah, tell us. Let's go back a few years. You're in your teens. What was that like for you? Were you somebody that was successful with women at the time, or girls, or were you someone that wasn't too keen in the space yet?
Well, if you look at me, I'm not a terribly looking dude, but I'm not the magazine cover type of a guy as well. So I'm like average looking dude, but I grew up with this bad boy attitude. I wasn't doing too many crazy things, but some run-ins with the principal and police and stuff like that. So I always had this attitude of trying stuff. So I was always trying to meet girls, trying what works, and then reading some books and trying some. So I was always doing something and always kind of. Yeah, let's just
Up
use
to
a
no
simple
good.
term of trying. I was always up to no good, always trying. But I always wanted a relationship. I was kind of in that mood where I liked to be in relationships, and I've been on several. I mean, too many, I would say, kind of too many serious ones where you feel like you love the person and it's several years and maybe you live together.
Mm,
But the story was I always tried to do the right thing, what they teach you to do in a relationship to make it lasting and to make your girlfriend happy and so that it would work out at the end. And I tried every next relationship, I tried more and more and more to be the guy that you're supposed to be. But what I saw is that somehow it didn't work out. The more I tried, the worse it got. And
mm.
then it ended with me asking, kind of just asking these questions: what's up? Why aren't things working? I'm doing all the right things. And what I did is I started googling. I started googling about marriages, about relationships, about statistics, and I realized that most marriages end in divorce with how we are approaching them. Most relationships end in failures, and you have to
Right.
think about this: the people who got divorced are the ones who were brave enough to end those terrible relationships they were in. And by the way, I'm very pro relationships and I'm pro
Yep.
having fun, and I'm, you do you. I'm pro both of those things, but the way people do them statistically doesn't work. So I said, if it doesn't work, let's say you've been day gaming, you've been approaching girls on the street for like a year and you're not getting results. If you keep doing the same things you're doing, it's not a smart thing to do because it's obviously not working. You have to change something. And the same with relationships. I realized whatever we believe about relationships doesn't work. So let me look at what works in dating in general. And that's how I started exploring dating sphere and different ways of meeting women, and specifically approaching them on the streets. But when I started that, that's when actually Tinder started. That's when online
Ah,
dating started. Yeah. So I experienced the first wave of Tinder, so to say, as well. And that's of course a different conversation. But yeah, those were my kind of background.
okay. Very cool. Well, actually, you know what, Robert, I am very curious. Can you give us like a brief couple minute synopsis of what those first few years of Tinder were like? Because
Oh,
that's
dude.
interesting, actually.
They were nice.
Yeah.
They were good because especially, I was starting to do a little bit of day game, like a tiny bit. At least I knew the theory, and
Okay.
how I started is a whole different story. So if anyone listening there, if you think you're afraid to approach women, and you have strong approach anxiety, then I'll tell you my story, how my AA was, and you're gonna think, oh, I don't have AA anymore. So yeah, Tinder was good back in the day. It was when it started. It was cool. You can meet some really cool chicks, and some really nice ones as well. But
Nice.
obviously, but I was way younger, so that changes a lot in the online game.
Okay. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I like what you said too, that at some point you got to level up your game, because I see a lot of guys as well. I've been one of them. I'm in that space. I'm doing the same approach over and over and over. In the same, I'll get a number, but it'll never lead to anything. And so lately I've had to level up my game too, and it's uncomfortable, but it yields to amazing results. So, and I know that's what you do as well. You help guys get to that stage where they can kind of get out of their own way and break through in the dating space.
Yes.
Yes. So continuing forward, so talk us a little bit through what you think is the best way to meet women, especially now, right? We have all kinds of options, and kind of go through those and tell us what you think is the
Yeah, so
best
these
route.
things change. They change over the years, and of course we have the now traditional online dating. We have the old school traditional, which is bars and maybe clubs. Then we have approaching girls in everyday situations. So that's
Mhm.
called day game in this kind of dating industry. It's called day game. And of course, we have the social circles, so hitting on girls at wherever you go, like friends parties or specifically work, which used to be a big thing. Now, if you want to talk to your HR, then
Get canceled, right?
so yeah, so we have a bunch of these things, and of course, if you are in the dating industry, let's say guys who are day gaming, they live in this day game bubble, and then they think, oh my god, everyone's day gaming. It's like, no one's day gaming. Like, it's so under
Mhm.
the radar. No one still does it. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, but and there are of course pros and cons to each of them, but we can actually go over each of them. We can go over the online and talk kind of what the ideas are, what are the problems that I see with online dating, why it's not a good idea, especially if you are
Sure.
not maybe 25 anymore, and if you're not really
Mhm.
good looking, if you're not like the top in the
Yeah.
looks, then we will go over that. Then we can talk about bars and clubs, we can talk about social circle, and then talk about kind of how day game compares to that, at least in my experience. And the one thing with online, and by the way, if someone is watching and you just want to go out with some girls, and regardless of how they look and what their personality is like, and if you're fine with
Mhm.
dating very average girls who still behave like princesses, then for all I care, do Tinder. I mean, if you're not very picky, then and the low hanging fruit are, you're fine with that, then you can do that. But if you're talking about a guy who is doing okay in life, he has achieved something, maybe in business, maybe in fitness, or he's doing okay in life in some terms, and now he wants to level up his dating game. He wants to have fun, because there are guys who reach out to me and is like, hey, I just want to have fun. I just want to sleep with loads of women, and it's okay. You want to do that? That's great. There are guys who reach out who want a wife, and yesterday, different conversation, not a good idea. But most of the guys, they want to have fun for a year or two,
Mm.
improve their game, improve their dating skills over that year or two, and then, because after improving their dating skills, they want to that will give access to higher quality women that are beautiful, interesting, cool to kind of hang out with, and then they want to start a relationship with someone like that. So, and because the biggest group is the last group, that's who we are going to talk about. But this kind of applies to the guys that want to have fun as well. So first of all, if you want to meet a nice girl, you have to ask yourself a question. Imagine she's good looking, she's interesting, she's fun, she maybe goes to the gym, does some stuff. So a girl like that has a lot of attention at work. She gets a lot of attention in the gym, in the social circle, guys sliding into her DMs, and even, sugar daddies hitting her up. Even with my girlfriend, she regularly gets DMs from some guys like offering to be her sugar daddies. And so they have a lot of attention. So my question is, what would a girl like that be doing on an online dating site?
Guys,
there's nothing for her to do there. She has so many options that she doesn't need to waste time. She can, any day of the week, she can pick from so many really high value, really, really good dudes that she doesn't really have that problem. And so that's one thing. That's why one reason I don't believe in online dating is I think there's some of them are on those apps, yes, but the majority are not. Then the second is, if you're not in your 20s anymore, let's say you are, I'm 35, but a lot of the guys that I work with are maybe even up to like mid 40s, late 40s, even their 50s. Let's say like from 20s to 50s. And if you're in like your mid 30s up to kind of late 40s, and you open your dating app and then you set the setting that you want to meet a girl that's like, 22 to 27, let's say, and at nice age. Well, you can do that in your settings, but how many girls in those apps have said that in their settings? They're not even seeing you in that app. So that's, again, a very big problem.
Right.
So, and then also there's a lot of data, not from, I don't think there's data from those apps themselves, but there's some data from, by the way, I don't know where this data comes from, but there's a lot of talk about this. But how much more men are on the dating apps compared to women? And the ratio was something ridiculous, like 4-1 or so. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
it's like 80-20. It's like a really
I've heard the same number, but I don't know where it's coming from. So take it with a grain of salt. But I believe
it comes from Tinder. It comes from Tinder.
Yeah, it might be. So the idea is that there's so many more men that there's a lot of competition in that space. You're competing with everyone, and this is something I've never heard like in terms of data, but I believe that men are spending more time swiping on dating apps. So if men are spending more hours and girls are spending less hours there, and there's so many more men, then at the end of the day, she doesn't even see your profile on that app. So there's just so many men, like she just does not see you. That's it. Right. Back in the day when Tinder introduced Platinum membership, where you would pay, depending on where in the world you are, and I think in Europe and US, it's like €50 a month, $50 a month. And one of the features was that when you swipe right on a girl, she sees your profile. Your profile goes to the top.
Okay.
But
if thousands of men are swiping,
now everyone does it. Now everyone does it.
Yeah.
So even if you have Platinum and if you're paying, everyone has Platinum. Who does online dating without a paid membership where you're first to be seen? Like everyone has it. So doesn't really help anymore. So those days when that helped are gone. And now I heard from the guys about Platinum back in the day, and now they're saying, oh yeah, I'm just boosting my profile. So they're paying for boosts all the time. And guys are doing all these crazy things. They're paying for boosts and paying for Platinum and even doing photo shoots. I know a guy who does professional. I know a guy, by the way, I went for drinks yesterday with a guy I coached day game, by the way, but one of his businesses is he has a photo agency for online dating profiles. He helps guys do photo shoots and then set up good profiles. So, and he also said that, yeah, people are just doing crazy things and men are doing all of these things just to be seen in this extremely competitive place where there's so many more men. And because there's so many more men, everyone who has done those apps, they know the attitude in texting.
Right.
It's not,
And Robert,
they're
I'm gonna
not nice to you.
yeah, I'm gonna interrupt you here for a sec, Robert. There's an important thing too, guys, we want to mention. If dating apps work for you, don't keep doing them, right? I know I have friends that for them they're very successful. I'm like you, Robert. I'm like a decent looking guy, but I'm no Giga Chad, right? So for me, I don't do well at all in the dating app. So for me, it's just a waste of time. I'd rather be
Yeah, I
out
mean,
there
if it
showing my
works for someone,
personality. Exactly. Yep. But for a lot of guys, it doesn't. And a really important part too is that women get so many matches. It's absolutely insane. I had a friend, she was a single mom. She was 42, I think, and she had 1,200 people that had swiped on her. 1,200 as a 42-year-old single mom. Like imagine
yeah,
like a 22-year-old just smoke show. She's gonna have thousands of people. So the odds are that you get into her DMs or whatever are very slim. So that is my approach as well. Like go out and do something else, spend time doing elsewhere. A lot of guys too that aren't super good looking. Some other dating coaches recommend you got to swipe for an hour, hour and a half a day. Dude, that's such a waste of time. Dude, there's so much you can do in an hour and a half besides just going like this. So I
yeah.
wanted to mention that part for the guys as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. And there are several arguments. There are some arguments that guys, when I give them this talk, they say, yeah, but I see these really hot girls on dating apps, and I even matched with some of them. Yes, and I always ask, okay, how many did you sleep with?
Mm,
How many did you? How many did go out with you without you taking them to some like sugar baby level venue, or insisted on that? So
right.
that's always you can counter that argument. And you said you had a good point about how some guys say that, oh, Tinder doesn't take a lot of time. Like I'm just yeah, but look at iPhone shows you your screen time based on apps, so you can see how much time you're actually spending on Tinder, and you're spending that without really good results. And I think that wanting to meet girls, by the way, yeah, wanting to meet girls without, and this is, by the way, one of the big points of this my online dating views, is wanting, and dating in general, wanting to meet girls without spending time and work on it is the same as buying diet pills and fitness gadgets.
Mm,
That's why online dating is so popular. It's easy. You can, excuse me, sit on a toilet and swipe on girls. Like,
yeah.
that's it.
Good
And
shit.
it's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the greasy, carb-loaded fast food of dating. So, that's one option. But if it works for you and you are certain, like, and guys with good game can verify that the girls you're seeing are actually hot and cool. Like maybe
Yeah,
you need to kind of up your bar as well. That's something you realize when you start meeting girls in other ways, that you can get way better quality. But okay, let's look at the next one. Let's look at bars and clubs.
yeah.
First of all, with bars, I'm just not the type of a person who enjoys that environment. I don't
Mm,
like going out to loud places, and I don't hang out with people there. I don't like drinking too much or staying up until middle of the night just with the hope of maybe meeting a girl. If I want to go out with my friends, I'll go for a hike. I'll go to the beach. I'll have a nice dinner or barbecue, or do something. I'll spend quality time with friends, but I don't like to go to bars and clubs just with the hope to maybe get lucky. And
yeah.
and and the other question is, do you want to date a party girl? Like, is that if you're just looking for a quick hookup, get drunk, have some fun, and then how what I call the long shower lays. Long shower lay is when you sleep with a girl and then you take a really long shower and you contemplate your life decisions and why did you sleep with anyone like that. So
That's
so
hilarious. That's
like,
going on a clip for sure. That's fantastic.
that is the risk of going to a club and getting drunk. You're so desperate that you'll just sleep with someone. But if you're looking about dating, then do you want to date a party girl? And I'm not saying that every girl in a club is a party girl. Every girl once in a while goes to the club,
Mhm.
like once a year with their friends to celebrate something, whatever, like a bride's, whatever the thing is called, like a hen party. That's
Yep.
fine. But if you look statistically, if you take all the girls in a club and then you kind of see what their lifestyles are like, I don't want to spend time with the average girl you will meet at the club. That's not who I'm looking for. And club owners are smart. that
Mm.
especially if you're in a bigger city, then they know what's up, and they have special VIP areas where all the hottest girls will get in there, and they will get great service there. But the only guys who are getting in there are the ones buying the tables, booking the tables, getting the bottle service, and so
Yeah.
again, it's all rigged, just as online dating is rigged against. No, I'm not going to use that language, but it's you're not playing on your own terms. There's someone
Right.
making money from that idea that you're going to go there and you're going to meet beautiful girls and they're hot, and all the hot ones are behind the door, and you have to go through the door and pay like 500 to get a table. That's if you're not in New York, because I know some New York stories, but like 3K for like 2 small bottles of champagne and stuff like that. So
Boy,
so
we were in
what
Latvia this weekend, and we went to this really nice club, and it was about 100 euros per person for the table. And we're just like, yeah, we'll pass. We'll just hang out in the nightclub. And there's a couple points. I mean, Robert, this is fantastic. This is absolute gold. There's a couple points I wanted to touch on too about guys that don't drink. So I'm with you. I don't drink alcohol. Been clean for a very long time. So I'm with you. Nightclubs, that loud noise. I like getting a good night's sleep. So nightclubs are just not for me. I'll still go once in a while just to like, experience it, right? Kind of humble myself, because something else too is that night game is different than day game. Like I have a friend that's just a master at the clubs. Like he picks up girls like anytime he goes. But I'm watching him and just he has that like fuck boy energy, right? I'm like more of an introverted, analytical, I like deep thinking, right? So at the at the clubs, that's not sexy. Like, hey,
no.
did you meditate this morning? What the fuck? No, they just want that pure sexual raw energy. And so, yes, it's definitely learning. I think something for the guys. It's learning what your personality type is, and then going to the environment that suits best for you. So, if you'd like
Exactly.
to continue on,
Of
yep.
course, if you like nightclubs, I am 100% for that. And you know why are they popular? Because you go out, you get drunk, you party, and maybe you end up home with a girl and never see her again. You know, it's once in a while. By the way, this is a fun fact about the dating coach. Never ever in my life have I pulled a girl from a nightclub. I've never done night game.
Wow.
This is how much I don't like clubs. You know.
Okay.
I go
Yeah.
there, I'm like, this is loud, this is disgusting. I'm leaving in an hour, and that's it. House parties, that's a
Fraud,
different story.
Bodie. He doesn't get
Yeah,
laid at the clubs, bro. That'll be
yeah,
the new thumbnail.
he's a nerd, you know. And when we talk about meeting girls in like the casual everyday situations, like this is one of the pros about day game. It works best for nerdy people. It works
Okay.
best for people like engineers and IT guys and entrepreneurs and like people like that who are very systematic thinking. Like those are the most successful guys in day game.
Wow, I haven't thought about it like that before. It's like introverts do well there, extroverts are for the nightclubs. That's a
No, they both are. I've done a podcast episode about introverts versus extroverts for day game,
okay.
and in the beginning I thought that extroverts would do better, but then I sat down after scripting a podcast. I sat down, I was like, let me double check this, and I went over the guys I've coached and I separated them into introvert, extrovert, did good, did bad, and I realized there are no differences. Introverts do just as good as
Okay.
extroverts in day game. So,
Okay.
but anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about social circle, something that's also fairly popular when it comes to meeting women. And let's break this down into relationships and for fun, because it changes slightly. Let's start with relationships. And the one big thing I have with social circle, especially places like work or business environment, because that's the most common. Of course, we have like friends of friends and all of that, but if you look at the work environment, the one big problem is if this works out and you are in this relationship and then you break up, you still have to work together.
Yep.
And that's going to be really, really awkward. So that's the big thing why I'm not a big fan of relationships that start in work. And of course, the rest, a big part of this is the one thing that's different in relationships. But the other things that when we're talking about having fun, they translate to relationships as well. But this is the one thing I want to talk about separately, just that you still have to work with the person. So, keep that into mind. But when we're talking about fun or relationships, so if you try hitting on this girl and it doesn't work out, like she just rejects you, well, you still have to work together, and you hit on her openly, like directly. You hit on her, and she rejects you. or you try to hit on her and it does work, and then you sleep with her, but it was casual. You both knew that it was gonna be like a fun thing and work event, and well, you still have to work with her. And what guys do in these environments, they kind of hit on girls under the radars and indirectly, and that's the most typical, like this hitting on girls all the time in this work environment, and they don't know when to stop. And it's a skill you have to acquire to understand when is it. Because it's fine. It's the best idea in those environments, of course, is to hit on girls under the radar indirectly. So that, and then you look at how she reacts, and then you understand, okay, do I go a little further? You go a little further, you see how she reacts, and then you act accordingly. Whereas guys don't know that, and they not that they don't know that, they don't know how to calibrate and how to read those signs. They haven't learned all these signs that girls give, and so they keep hitting on them, and girls are getting tired, and that's, you one day end up in an HR situation where probably getting sacked because or you get some training or whatever. So this has become a very big no, and I kind of think that's cool. You shouldn't be kind of flirting with people at work, and friendly is fine, but don't go rubbing someone's shoulders, And but if you're talking about social circle in general, then you have to understand this is very different. And this is what I hear from many guys that maybe were in a relationship and then broke up, and now they're 40 plus, or like maybe mid to late 30s, and they were in a relationship for 10 years or more, and now all of a sudden every girl in their social circle isn't 25 anymore. They're 40, they're 45, they're 35. But they remember those younger girls. They remember how fun they were and how they like to enjoy life. They were not weighted down by the seriousness of life or whatever. And they wanted to have those fun interactions and date those younger girls who are mostly better looking, and men prefer them. And they don't have access to them anymore because their social circle now is older. So you're limited to the size of your social circle. That's one. And the second, you're limited to age of people in your social circle. So again, it's very limiting. And the older you get, the more of those people are married, and maybe you have a younger sister and you go hang out with her friends. I don't know if maybe someone has that opportunity. And she has young hot friends.
Bro, you'll meet my partner maybe someday, and he'll tell you a funny story. So Huds, I couldn't make it.
Yes, definitely. So why is this so popular? Because it's under the radar. You don't have to do anything. You're just flirting with people you already know, but you are definitely risking of becoming that guy.
Yeah.
And that is, you don't want to be that guy. There are environments where it's completely fine to be that guy. I friends of friends and all of that stuff, hitting girls. I do that. That's totally fine. In a right environment with the right people, if you're not too pushy and you're calibrated, you know how to do it. Very hard to learn, but if you learn, then that's fine. Which brings us to approaching girls in everyday situations.
Couple of points on that. One thing that can happen too is that if you're that guy, right, you might hit on the wrong girl in the terms of one of the guy's ex-girls, maybe one guy he's into or something, and you can totally ruin a guy relationship by trying to hit on girls in the social circle. And I think whenever I'm hanging out with a group of people, it's like, yeah, the girls are great, but I'm here for my homies, right? So you don't want to be that guy that just like you get the reputation that, oh, if you make friends with this guy, he's going to hit on your girl, or he's going to try to sleep with your ex. Just don't do it, guys. This is
of course. You have to be calibrated. You have to be a normal dude. You don't sleep with someone's exes, and you don't hit on someone's girlfriends. And if they reach out to you, then that's a different question. But and if you're not friends with the guy, you just have seen him in one party, then that's a different question. But.
And I'm happy that we're transitioning here, because I was somebody that in high school, I had a big social circle. So that's how I was able to date and stuff. But once I got into college, I actually did have a big social circle in college too. But once I got out of college, I was like a fish out of water, right? I didn't have any courage to go talk to somebody in the street that I didn't know. I needed my friends there to introduce me. So this is going to be really important. This next part we're going to be talking about here is how to overcome that by Mr. St. Robert's wisdom. So dive in, brother.
Yes. let's go into approaching girls in everyday situations or day game. Well, I'm gonna give some cons to this as well. Of course, there are some reasons why this isn't as popular, but let's start with the positive. First of all types of girls. You like the lawyers, the serious. You like the business ladies who work in banks or in crypto. You like the hipster chicks. You like the yoga girls. You like tall, short, any race, anything you like. You can meet them on a street. So your options are whatever you like. You just go to New York City, you go to any like London, whatever you like, it's out there on a street. You can approach them, you can get to know them any age you like. If you like girls in their 20s, even their 30s, 40s, like, keep it legal. That's the only rule, basically. And not a lot of people do it. I know people living in this day game bubble think that everyone's day gaming. No, they're not. Like, not at all. You don't like. By the way, were you in Riga a few weeks ago? By the way,
this weekend.
This week, no, okay, no, because I when I saw you in the picture in Riga, I thought that I saw you in a two-set in Riga like a few weeks back, but no, then that was someone else. Anyway, so very few people are doing it. So when you approach a girl on the street, you get some credit. You will stand out. That's and the attitude you get when texting with girls whose numbers you get from day game is completely different than what you get from online dating, because online dating gives you a lot of that bitchy, princessy attitude where slow responses, whereas from day game it's just fast responses and quick dates and with night game, you close, but then most of those numbers never respond. And this is one of the things we're going to talk about this when it comes to why guys fail at day game, but there's a big difference between getting numbers and getting girls out. Very, very big difference. That's why everyone watches all the infields and they see these guys get numbers, but most of those numbers flake.
Most of them flake. I think this is a beginning thing too for a lot of guys. And it's great, right? If you're getting numbers and you've never gotten numbers before, keep going for it because it'll feel great. You'll be like, wow, actually, a girl didn't throw her drink at me or call the police, right? This is fantastic. What you'll find maybe is that you'll get the number and you'll realize, wow, I've gotten 8 numbers and 0 have texted me back. So often, if you have that nice guy energy, they'll give you the number as a kind way of saying, I'm not interested in you. I respect that you came up and approached me, but you're not turning me on, so there's no way this is happening. But you're too sweet and nice for me to say no to your face. So that might happen a lot, especially when you're in the beginning stages of the day game.
Exactly. So in general, I think day game is great, whether you want fun or you want a girlfriend down the line. Both of those, I've seen a lot of success in both of these choices. But as great as it is, because you can meet any girl and anywhere in the world, by the way, you can travel to almost any place. In my community, we have a guy day gaming in Iran.
Nice.
So you can't really day game there. He's day gaming there. Wow. You have a guy day gaming in traditional countries. There's this guy who's day gaming in South Korea. He's done more than 1,000 approaches there.
Wow.
So. Then if it's so amazing, why is it not as popular? Why is it? And it's never going to be that popular. People are never going to overcome these. It's going to be a certain type of people that are going to do. You can look at entrepreneurship or being fit, being healthy. All these things are amazing life, but why most guys aren't healthy? Why most guys work a boring 9-to-5 job, live a terrible, unhappy life? Because it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy choice. It's fitting in with the group, fitting in with what everyone else does. So, and it's good. I'm fine. Not a lot of people have to do day game. So, number one reason why day game is not as popular is because people have this fear of approaching women. And they're very, very afraid. It's called approach anxiety, and it's for some guys it's very hard to overcome. But as a coach, I've seen only one guy who, even with coaching, couldn't overcome approach anxiety. Everyone else who I've seen has been able to do that to some form and gotten some results. So that's the biggest one. My story was very hard when it comes to approach anxiety. When I was ready to go out, I went out and I was like, I'm gonna talk to girls. I knew what I'm gonna say, and I walked around for 2 hours, and then I couldn't gather courage to approach a single girl.
Sure.
Went out the next day, tried to do the same thing and couldn't. And I went out for 2 weeks, almost every day for more or less 2 hours, until for the first time I approached a girl. 2 hours
Okay.
I walked out. 2 weeks I went out every day until I overcame the fear for the first time. So I had a very, very hard approach anxiety journey. It was, but I did, but my story is one of the hardest when it comes to fear. So
Tell us what that first approach for you was like when you finally when you finally did it.
it was easy. It was easy because I met this
Mm.
girl from like Facebook the previous night, and I was coming home from her place in a good mood. And I just saw a girl, and I was like, "This is the moment. Let's go!"
Sweet. Let's go, baby.
But it didn't make it easier. Like I
Mm.
still had to overcome the fear the next time I went out. The next time, it took me a long time to really get rid of that fear. And sometimes it's
Okay.
still there, and that's normal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why maybe that's why a lot of people who have that fear reach out to me to kind of help with that, because I'd say like a big part of guys that I work with have very, very strong approach anxiety. And maybe that story that I had about my approach anxiety, maybe that's why they can reach out and want help with that, because it's a tough thing to deal with. And the other reason why day game is not as popular, it's if you're learning it on your own, it is very hard to learn. It takes a long time. I would say minimum of 6 months if you're learning fast, and you have to go out a lot and spend hours and hours and hours every week out on the streets. So it does take a lot of time and effort. But again, just as in business or fitness, you can beat the game if you're willing to work with someone. But again, we're going to talk about, it's tricky. There's a lot of, you have to be very picky with who you work. And I'm going to tell you a little secret of how to find a guy that will work for you. So that's the second thing. It's hard to learn. That's when a lot of people do it. And the third is it shows you reality. It shows you your real value. There's this term sexual market value.
Yep.
It shows your real sexual market value without sugarcoating it. You can be, I've worked with guys who are like magazine cover, like 190, it's like 6'3", really hot guys, have money, have everything, status, virgin. And like good looking guys with money, with success, traveled, everything, can't approach women. So you can be this super cool dude and you can think, I'm the coolest dude, I need the coolest chick. Well, you're not sleeping with those coolest chicks. So maybe this for a lot of guys, this is a reality check when they realize, I thought I'm a cool guy, turns out I'm not. Turns out I need to do a lot of work. So again, that's why entrepreneurs do very good with day game, because they have this mentality of, okay, I have this idea, and then they market test it and they see, this failed. It didn't work. I need to test it. I need to change it. And that's the same with day game. You test it, you see it doesn't work. So that's why it's hard. But there are many reasons why it's amazing. Because one thing I really love, we touched upon this a little bit earlier, that it's day game, at least the way I approach day game, at least the way my content, I talk about it in my content, because I've done a lot of content about day game. And the way I teach and do content, it's a very structured approach to day game. You can learn it if you know the structure and you learn it step by step, just as engineering, just as programming. If she does this, you do this. Else if do this, else if do this, else. It's the beginning is very, very structured, and that's kind of the beauty of day game. And if you're good with systems, if you're an engineer in IT, marketing, sales, or run a business, those people do really, really, really well. It works in almost all ages. There's very little difference I see in results. guys who are like 25 or 45 have their very little differences between these audiences. And I would say almost anyone can learn it. I've seen guys from all over the world. I've worked with guys from all over the world, different professions, personalities, social guys, super geeky guys, and
I know anyone can learn it. Yep, because I learned it. That's
almost anyone.
I was one of those.
There are exceptions.
Oh, sure, right. Most guys can, yes.
And I like that it translates. Day game, maybe you do a lot of day game, you learn it, but then you decide, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. But that skill set translates to any other way you're going to meet girls. You want to chat up girls in a friend's party, day game skills make you calibrated. You want to hit on someone under the radar indirectly, day game teaches you that. So it's also a learning mechanism, not just a way to meet girls, but
and not
it's
only
just like
that,
sports.
Hold on one sec, Robert. Not only that, with girls, you can also get good with connecting with guys. business, right? I wouldn't have had the courage to reach out to you, Robert, if I hadn't been rejected 500 plus times, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the worst he's gonna do? Say no. So this will help in so many areas besides women. Most of the guy friends I have now were because I just approached him. I literally approached a dude, had said, "What's
Yeah.
up?" We had a good interaction, and now we're homies. So, like the guys I visited this weekend, we had a stag party. I went out and I met the guy who invited me. He was sitting on a bench with a girl the first day I got into Warsaw, and I literally said, "Hey, what's up? Where's the grocery store?" The same thing I would ask like a chick or something. Probably not so much anymore, but I asked him like a typical opener, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, let me invite you to our group." And it's just like so many things, guys, will come besides just the women if you take this journey.
Of course, it's day game is like, I look at it like sports. If you're willing to eat a little healthier and move a little more, you'll get results. And if you learn the right way, if you're doing the right thing, you will be dating girls you didn't even think you could have access to before. But
Bro,
you know,
it's
there's the
crazy.
there's the question of learning day game, and you can, there's the as good as it sounds, the reality is that from what I see, for every guy that I know that succeeded in day game, I know, maybe 50 to 100 dudes who did not.
Oh, okay, okay,
The success rate in day game is fairly low, and that's the reality that no one is really talking about. Everyone is just, because you hear the good stories, you don't hear a lot of guys telling their bad stories, but I hear all of it. I'm the guy,
okay.
the questions you don't want to ask your buddies, I'm the guy guys ask that could ask those questions. It's like, hey, you know what I can do if I'm like, coming too fast, or like, are dick pills a good idea, or how do I get better in bed, like, and
Well,
so
so why don't
I
guys
hear.
succeed then? Like, if all
Uh,
they have to do is ask the questions, why are they not? Is it just pushing them
so
through? Do
it
they
kind
give
of
up?
depends on whether they're, and we can break this down into whether they're learning on their own or with a coach, because there are very big
Okay,
differences, and the guys are making mistakes in both of them. But let's maybe start with guys who want to learn on their own.
sure.
Well, first of all, when they go online and they search content, what they find is content that is engineered to make money from ads,
Hmm.
or content that is engineered to look exciting and good. When you see like a recording of someone approaching a girl on the street, and it's such a high energy interaction, and a girl is giggling and so happy, and maybe it ends with a kiss on the street, and guys see that, I was like, oh my God, that is incredible. They don't know that those interactions, those numbers, they don't respond, because a good day, guys don't have a good understanding how a good day game interaction looks like. And the content you see on YouTube is created to either, it's for TikTok, where guys approach chicks on TikTok and show that. That's a bunch of content like that. And YouTube as well, there's a bunch of videos where they look fun, they look exciting, but in reality, that's not how good day game looks like. So guys are trying to replicate that, and people create that content because that's what sells. That's what people are buying. That's why I like working with entrepreneurs and people like that. They're good at filtering through marketing stuff. It's like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, this looks good. Let me kind of double check everything, and so
Okay.
that's one. Second is, people are using wrong approach to learning day game. There are, of course, many approaches, but the main ones are, you have the London day game model, the structured approach to day game, and you have the natural game.
Mm.
Those are the biggest ones. And I meet hundreds of day gamers, and everyone I meet is a big fan of some coach, of some content, of some approach to game, of some YouTube channel. And they think that whatever they believe is like the best thing. Oh, there's nothing better than this. But I only look at one thing. I look at their day game results.
Hmm.
And if their results are bad, then I assume the model they follow doesn't work. And if someone's day game results are good, I will give more credit to whichever approach they're using, whichever channel they're following. And I don't want to, I know there are different ways to look at a game and all of that stuff, but the biggest believers who scream the loudest but have the least to show for it, unfortunately, are the followers of natural game. I don't know. There are exceptions. I know guys who tried natural approach and they did amazingly well. but those are guys that are socially good with people. They're maybe decently looking
Okay.
guys, and then you give a guy like that any approach, he's gonna do good. And by the way, when I say this, I don't mean that the structure game is the end all be all. We don't want to be copy paste monkeys running around. Oh, you don't look Swedish, you look more French, Italian. You don't want to be that guy, But if you want, the end goal is to become a natural, is to be able to communicate in a natural way with anyone. But to get there, you need to learn how things work. You need to know the steps. You need to understand how attraction works, how to make her interested to talk to you instead of just saying, I have a boyfriend, I have to go. And then you have to understand how attraction works, how to make her comfortable to go out with you on a date. Because all you need to get a number for your beautiful YouTube video is attraction. Just tease a little bit, make fun of her a little bit. She's going to give you her number. But there's no comfort. She's not going to come out on a date with you. And guys need to learn those things. And that you learn only from structured day game, which then you kind of slowly move away from that structure over time. And this is one of the biggest reasons guys don't make it in day game, I would say.
Okay. I like that you made that difference as well, that you start at structure. It's a good foundation. And then the goal is to move from natural, because
yes,
I'm just happy you said that, because I think some people would be like, oh, should I do structure my whole life? Should I do natural my whole life? It's like, no, you combine the two and it's an evolution.
You start with structured. You start with extremely structured. When I coach guys, I tell them, do this step by step, like a little robot. And then when they see what works, then they start experimenting. Then they start doing their own stuff. Like, I don't do any fake stories or any kind of deceptive tactics. I'm very much against that. But guys, through that, they just gonna understand, oh, like, okay, I do this stack and this is how she reacts. Now I can create, and now they create their own stacks, their own stories around their life, around their personality. Even if their life is, they're working from computer and not having many adventures. If it's a serious life, it doesn't mean you can't have interesting stories about that life. So that's when it comes to learning on your own, that's the biggest thing. Those are the big things, and it takes a long time. It takes a minimum of 6 months to learn day game on your own. I would say a minimum. And out of all the guys that I've seen learn day game, a very small percentage from those who succeeded, most of them succeeded fast. And then basically what I'm saying, if you didn't succeed in the first 6 months, maybe stop banging your head against the wall. And unfortunately, you have to understand that maybe your fitness goals aren't working, and you need to change the gym. You need to approach. You need the fitness coach, and you kind of need to understand what you're doing wrong. Which brings us to the second part, to kind of, if you're learning with a coach, because some guys can learn on their own. As I said, I know for each guy who succeeds, 50 to 100 who don't. But if you do, then that's amazing. But if in 6 months you see that, okay, well, didn't work, then there's time for. You have to understand that probably you're going to get some coaching, and it doesn't necessarily mean like a one-on-one boot camp, because maybe not everyone can do that financially, but there are many options. But
I'll tell you guys, like a year ago, I started a little over a year ago, and I was doing it natural through YouTube videos. And I had that same realization, like, yo, this isn't working. Joel's way is not the highway. That's always been my progression. Like my ego is like, you can do this. And then I just crash and burn. So I got a dating coach, and I took out a credit card for him. I gave him the money, and it was just a game changer, because I needed that structure. Like you said, I was just kind of going off what I knew naturally, and naturally I'd say I'm a fun guy, but I didn't have any structure. So I couldn't put it all together, and it was just like agonizing. So I think coaching is a great avenue to take. And most guys, I think, do take that.
Yeah.
Like you said.
A disclaimer from my part: if you're ever considering, anyone listening, if you're considering getting coaching from me, don't use a credit card to do that, please.
Yeah, it was not a good idea.
Cheaper options. Get a coaching call, get an online course, get something like that. But don't do that. I'm not taking cards for that reason. Anyways, So in general, when it comes to learning with a coach, there are, again, this is the second part, how people fail learning day game. Let's kind of run over that. And this is why, again, as I said, I like business people, because they're very good at filtering through all the marketing stuff and understanding what sounds good and what actually works, what is proven by real results, and what is just, fancy marketing stuff that sounds good. They do their background checks, and they do kind of the chat with the ex-students, and they're willing to put in the time Because unfortunately, from like, I think the audience who, if you're getting coaching and you're spending money for that, and you know, a good day game coaching is not cheap. Like it's a premium product. Like, let's be honest. And if you're doing that, you should at least listen, like spend an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 listening to experiences other students have had, listening to interviews with them, spend some time, maybe reach out to them, ask. Because I think the guys who just see like a nice marketing video and then buy, I think you have to be pretty desperate to fall for that marketing stuff.
Which is
that's
why it
the
works,
problem.
because they go. It works because people are
Yeah,
desperate.
they cater to that audience, to that desperate audience, not to the audience that is more technical and more kind of logical and so on. And
Well,
then
I think a lot
let's
of that audience is technical and logical. They just are just they've never known that they could do this. So a year down the line, they might be guys that can really embrace structured London day game, for
yeah
example.
yeah
But in that moment, they're just like, "Fuck, dude, I just haven't talked
yeah
to a girl in like 4 years. I need something
yeah.
right now."
And they do something, yeah.
Uh,
Because actually,
yeah.
a very big percentage of guys I work with have been coached by someone else before, the biggest names in the industry. So
Okay.
we're not going to go over the names, but if you heard the name,
Yeah.
then I probably coached someone who's worked with the coach.
Okay.
The second, and then there are like the big red flags that you should really be careful when working with a coach. Learning day game is pretty hard, and everyone learns it a different way. Someone learns things faster, someone learns things slower, and that's why group boot camps don't work. Or they work, but the success rate is way lower. So normally a coach will teach
Okay.
2, 3, 4, or even more guys at the same time, just because they're
Yeah.
popular
Why
and that's
is
a
that?
way to kind of scale. Yeah. But you need someone to listen into your conversations, to hear exactly what you're doing, to look at your body language, and to say, listen, dude, this was good in that set, but this was bad. And so in the next conversation, next time you shut up a girl, do exactly these things. And you can't do that with multiple guys at the same time. And if you're someone who learns fast, you will feel maybe the other guy's slower. You will feel kind of that he's holding you back. Or maybe if you have approach anxiety, if you are afraid to approach women, you will feel rushed and you will kind of maybe feel, oh, like this guy is doing so much better. I'm such a this and that. And there with the group boot camps, there comes this party vibe, this social interaction, this high energy thing. And your results come from that, from this high energy. When you go home, you don't have those crutches anymore. You're solo, you're alone on the street. And all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. And it's much harder to then day game on your own if all you knew was how to be part of the group. That is one of the kind of red flags. The second is assistant coaches. Again, you see someone on YouTube and you want to learn with them and they say, listen, I have this amazing dude who's like such a good coach. He's going to be the one coaching you. You know.
Well, that happened to me when I got my coach last year. I thought I was going to be working with the guy, and then it ended up like he sent me like another dude, and this dude was like a total dork. I'm like, dude, like what? And so
legally, he ended up to get a refund.
Me. And thankfully, he was like, "Yo, I'll coach you instead." So it ended up working out. But at first, I was like, fuck, I just wasted $3,000, bro.
No. Yeah. So you have to be careful with it. You have to do your homework. You have to get one-on-one coaching with the guy who you're learning from. So, and I would say if you have done your homework and if you find a coach you want to work with, when you realize you have to work with someone, you can't do this on your own, you find a coach and then you reach out to him and then, you know, I think what it's called, like sticker shock and it's a little out of your budget.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing I would highly suggest doing, regardless of whether someone chooses to work with me or someone else, if it's out of your budget, don't look for another coach. Look for other options. This guy can help you.
Okay.
Because decent coaches are busy and they're in a similar price range. Except if you're really, really popular, then you can charge like $15K where you're charging 10 guys, coaching 10 guys at the same time. There are people doing that in Europe right now. One of the biggest names in the industry is doing that. Like they're coaching like 10 guys at the same time. They're paying with like 10 to 15K for that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So maybe if you reach out to the coach and you say, okay, and by the way, most coaches don't charge 10 to 15K, so don't worry about it. But you reach out and you realize it's too much, just ask, okay, what else do you have for me? because what I did to solve this problem, I realized that not everyone can afford that. So I created other options for people to learn day game and tested them. They still worked, and then they're still good, and they're much cheaper. So maybe look into that. And I think that's a first pick a coach and then find a method that works for you. Maybe it's one-on-one coaching, maybe it's an online course, maybe it's doing coaching calls or something like that. And I think if you follow these steps, if you're learning on your own and don't make these mistakes, then you have a hope. And
Yes.
And if you don't, and you decide to work with a coach, which is sometimes, by the way, a tough pill to swallow for guys, because we had this guy in our community who was asking terrible, awful questions for like a long time. He seemed like one of those hopeless guys. Like his questions were
Okay.
just unbelievably bad. Like a guy who has no clue about how dating works. He's now one of the best day gamers in our community. But
Wow.
he had to follow a very tough pill, and then he got like
Yeah.
like at least 10 coaching calls. I coached him for at least 10
Okay.
calls. But now he's one of the best guys in our
That's
community. I
fantastic.
listened to his conversations the last time we had a call, and I told him, dude,
Yep.
your conversations are like mine when I was at the peak of my game. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't
Fantastic.
know. That's
Well,
about it.
I'm gonna
About learning.
gold, man. This is great. We're gonna chop it up, have some really good short videos here. One thing too, I'm gonna mention about getting good at game is at some point too, you'll be able to connect with guys who also do game, and just kind of watch them. Like here in Warsaw, I've gone out with some guys that are just top notch, right? And I've learned so much from them. And they're not like, yo, you got to charge me hang out with you. No, we're just hanging out. We're going out approaching together. And I've just seen so much. So guys, if you do get to that point where, you've done your coaching, whatever, and you start connecting with other dudes, you basically kind of get free coaching. And vice versa. Then you can give coaching too for free. And it's just, you get to share what you've learned with other people. And that's just like, it's a feeling that you can't describe, man. When the student becomes the teacher, I imagine for you, that was pretty special.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's why I tell guys, pick a coach, and if you want to work with someone for really cheap, I would actually say find a good wing. He's gonna be just as good as a really shitty coach. As a really cheap and shitty coach, he's gonna be like a good wing. It's the same level, He's good at day game. He will point out some things. He will see some things. You'll see some things, and you're gonna be learning from each other. And 6 months later, maybe something works out. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, Robert, thank you so much for coming on the channel, man. This has been fantastic. You dropped so many nuggets of wisdom. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so I have done a bunch of content over the years, but there's so much content there is like a big mess. So there's a very simple thing you can do. You can go to my website, strobert.blog, strobert.blog, or go to daygamecourses.com and sign up to either of these sites, and a magical thing will happen. First, you will get the best content I've created, separated by levels of difficulty. So let's say you're just overcoming the fear. Then, okay, this is the best content for overcoming the fear, and the best links and everything to watch, everything. Or maybe you're trying to get your first day game. You're trying to sleep with the first games from girls from day game, and just boom, a separate group. Or maybe you're already decent and you're trying to get really, really good at day game, and there is a separate thing about that. So that's one thing you're going to get. The second thing is you're going to get access to my texting and dating courses. Those are courses I created a long time ago when I started coaching. If you've seen shitty production quality, that's what you're gonna. That's what's in there. Really shitty production quality, but really good content. Like you'll learn everything you need to know about what to text to girls when you get numbers on the streets, what to do on dates in a very step-by-step fashion. You'll get access to our community. We have more than 400 guys from literally all over the world. But most importantly,
right here, maybe.
Yes. Most importantly, I'm soon going to be doing a webinar that's going to be kind of in your community only. About finding a girlfriend using day game, about the mistakes almost all guys make when they're trying to meet a girlfriend through day game, and what makes the guys who succeeded different. And there's going to be a webinar. I don't know when exactly when, but I'm going to send it out to everyone who joins the mailing list, and so you're gonna know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Cool,
it.
cool. Awesome. I will get that webinar because that sounds fantastic. So yeah, thank you so much, Robert. Again, we appreciate you coming on. Maybe we'll see you around again on the channel sometime down the line. And this was fantastic. So guys, appreciate you tuning in, watching the stream. A little bit about what I'm going on in my life. Sobriety University, if you come over to there, teach you how to quit drugs, alcohol, which I found to be very important in this day game journey, right? Making sure I have a clear mind when I go out, knowing I'm at full energy. And it's a little different experience going out sober and telling a girl, telling your girl that you're seeing, hey, I don't drink, by the way. It's gonna shorten the pool, but the ones you find will be just top-notch quality. So if you want any advice or help on that, come over to Sobriety University on YouTube, and then follow my actual channel, my Instagram down below. I'm kind of working on getting it a little nicer. Instagram game is something we didn't touch on today, but maybe we'll touch on at some point. And I was really lazy with my Instagram. I didn't give like crappy photos. And ever since I started posting good photos, like it's been a game changer. Like girls have actually hit me up in the DM. They've reached out to me, and I'm just like, this is nuts. And they like all my photos. And I'm like, well, it's a testament of putting a little work into it. So guys, otherwise, talk to you next one. Have a great one, and peace out.